I want to give a huge shout out to Lori. So Lori is my homie. She lives in South Philly. She's not an old woman. She's just a little bit older than me. She's this tiny little woman, and she gathers up all this stuff from her church group. She comes down to Kensington and helps me distribute it. Yesterday, we stopped by her house, me, Rachel, and Mercy, and hung out with her and her son for a while. And she had all this stuff to give me to take down to Kensington. A lot of what I took was stuff that she gave me, along with, a truck full of stuff that I brought. It's a blessing. I see this woman, she doesn't have to do what she does, but she chooses to do it. She watches the video. So, Lori, thank you very much. Thank you. It's awesome. I love hanging out, spending time with you. I love seeing you. So, thank you, Lori. Do me a favor, hit that like button, y'all. Let's see if we can get this video to 500 likes. What's going on, y'all? I'm Frank. Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully everybody having a blessed day. So I just got home from Philly about 15 minutes ago. Figured I'd come in here and make a video real quick for y'all. Thank you for everybody that was on the live last night. We was on there for about 3 hours hanging out, passed out some stuff, bugged out with Mercy, and genuinely had a good time on a live. I haven't done a live in a very long time, especially not that kind of live where I'm giving out stuff. So it was nice. There was a lot of new faces in the building, so it was definitely nice. I want to send a big shout out to everybody that super chatted. Thank you very, very much. And I don't want to single anybody out because I don't want to forget anybody. I sort of don't like doing that just because I don't want to forget anybody and I don't want anybody to take offense. So each and everybody that supported, you know who you are. Thank you very much. When we were out there yesterday and I was passing out the stuff, Mercy and Rachel were in the car. I was outside passing out the stuff out of the trunk of my car, essentially, or out of the trunk of the truck. And Mercy was asking me, she said, "Daddy, how come there's people sleeping outside? Daddy, how come there's people living outside?" She's seen it when she was younger, but she wasn't old enough to understand, obviously. Now she is. So I had to explain to her. I said, I was trying to do it when she asked me, and then she asked, and she asked. She, like the typical 3-year-old kid, if they don't get an answer, they're going to continue to ask. And that's what she did. She asked me numerous times, "Daddy, how come there's people living outside? Daddy." And I had to explain to her. I said, well, some people don't have a home. Some people live outside. And she said, well, no, they could just go to the hotel. And that's what she thinks. For a while, she thought the hotel was like our second home because we were on the road all the time. I had to tell her, in reality, that's not the way it works for everybody. I said, and then I explained to her, you know why mommy and daddy go to work? And that's so we can have money, so you can have stuff, and you can have food, and you can have a house, and you can have a car. And I tried to explain it to her as best as I could. But there's no way to explain that type of stuff to a 3-year-old. And Mercy is very smart. She's very advanced. But there's still no way to explain that. She doesn't fully understand. But you could see that it bothered her. That it bothered her. And especially when one of the women, I was giving out food and, so when I was giving stuff out yesterday, I had food, I had clothing, I had blankets, a little bit of everything you could think of, right? And I had these hug juices, and Mercy was asking me for one of the juices. So I said, okay, as soon as I come back in, I'll bring you one. And the woman that I had gave, it was her and her husband, and I had filled up their bag and gave them juices and some snacks and some clothing and blankets. And at the end, she gave me the juice back, and she said, here, give it to the nana. Nana in Spanish is little girl. She said, here, give it to the nana. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. I said, you keep it. She said, no, here, take mine, give it to la nana. I wasn't surprised one bit. Not one single bit was I surprised because, and we touched on this on the live a little bit last night. Those that have the least give the most. That's always been my experience. The majority of people that have the least, they're so quick to share the little bit that they do have because they don't have much and they know what it is to go without. So I told her, and I was trying to be as respectful as I could. I told her, I said, no, here, you keep it. I said, she's all right. She got plenty of juice. She wants for nothing. And she was persistent. She was like, no, 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 here, take it, take it. And I should have, now that I think back on it, I should have took it just to make her feel good and then give her another one. I should have took it because sometimes we have to allow people to be the giver. Somebody broke this down to me a little while ago. Well, a while ago, a couple years ago. I would never like to take gifts or take kind gestures from people, but I'd constantly be doing things for other people. I'd be buying people dinner. We go out to, there was a time where we used to go out to eat, and almost every single time we would go out to eat, I'd pay for somebody's meal. We'd be in a restaurant, and, some of those bills, it added up, to say the least. And I would do other nice gestures for people. One time, Rachel was the one, she said, look, the same way you do nice stuff for other people, you have to allow people to do nice stuff for you. I think when we do that kind of stuff, it's almost like the laws of attraction, right? And karma. Karma works both ways. It works good and it works bad. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people think that it just works in the negative way. No, that's not true. Karma 100% works in the positive way also. So people would try to do stuff for me, and I would always be like, no, I'm okay. I don't need it. And I could need it. I could want it. But I would always turn it down. And she had to tell me, Frank, listen, you have to allow people to be the blessing. Even if you know they're giving you something and they might can't afford to give you that, take it. She said, allow them to be the blessing. You enjoy and it makes you feel good when you do something nice for other people. And I said, yeah. She said, so why would you deny that to somebody else? And I thought about it and I was like, damn, you're right. And it changed the way I looked at it. I said, I have to allow people to be a blessing in my life. And it's not out of greed. It's not out of me not having something and wanting or whatever it might be. I have to allow for them to do that so they can feel good on their end. You know what I mean? It's like when our kids do something for us. At Christmas time, when our kids buy us something, we're giving them the money to buy it. We don't really need whatever they're buying us, but we take it and we're thankful for it. And it makes them feel good. And that's the same way it goes when we get older. Sometimes we have to allow people to be a blessing in our life for their sake. So this morning when we got up, we were downtown. And I seen this gentleman. He was laying on the grate. Let me explain this to everybody. So in the East Coast, in Philly, in New York, in these big cities, they have the grates, and they're subway grates. So it lets out warm air from the subway downstairs. And underneath the ground, they have the subway that runs below the ground, and they have these huge grates allow hot air to come up. And that's where people literally will sleep. People will sleep on top of those grates because they know there's warm air coming up. So there was a gentleman this morning. It was snowing. It was a little bit of sleet. It was wet. It was very, very cold. I could see the gentleman. He had a couple blankets. One corner was in the slush in the street. Another corner was in a puddle. Another part of it was like in the snow. And I'm just watching him. I'm going to insert the video here so you guys can see. It looked almost like the scene out of a movie where there was smoke rising, and then you just see this gentleman in the middle of that smoke laying down on the ground, just trying to be warm. So I watched him, and I pulled up to him, and I said, excuse me, brother, is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything I could help you with? He said, do you have coffee? Could I get a cup of coffee? And I said, I don't have coffee, brother. I said, I have some food. Would you like some Chinese? So whenever I go to the hotel, whatever I buy, whenever I'm in Philly and traveling, doing stuff like this, I don't throw anything out because I know that there is people that will love to receive that. When I went and bought Chinese the night before, I had a whole platter, a whole combination meal that nobody touched. And I asked him, I said, would you like Chinese? He said, no, I don't really like Chinese. And I said, well, I got some blankets, and I said, a matter of fact, I got a couple rain ponchos, so we'll try to keep you dry, all right? And he said, yeah. And he was an older gentleman. He said, yeah, that'll help. Thank you. So I got him a couple rain ponchos out, got him a blanket, gave him a couple other things, and he was extremely appreciative. He didn't ask me for no money, ask me for anything else. He just said, thank you, God bless you. And I got back in the car, and I just looked at him. and he's opening up the rain poncho and he's trying to put it on. I just looked at him and I was like, man, all he wanted was, the only thing that would make this better is him having that cup of coffee. So I dug in my pocket, I pulled out a $10 bill and I went back and I gave it to him. He said, man, are you serious? I said, here you go, brother. I said, go get your cup of coffee. And he was just extremely appreciative. He said, thank you very much. Thank you. He said, you don't know how much this means to me. And I was just sitting there in the car and Mercy was watching. And then Mercy asked, and she said, why is that smoke around there? Is there a fire? And I said, no, mama, that's just smoke. That's the way he stays warm. I said, that's like his heat. She said, okay. She's like, but he's not going to stay there forever, right? And I didn't know what to tell her. He's not going to be there forever, but he's going to be there longer than he should. And even yesterday when we were on the live, the first person that I got out on Kensington and Somerset and gave them a blanket and a couple other things was an individual named Chris. He's in a wheelchair. He's been in a wheelchair for a couple years now. And he had like a blanket on and is, dragging in the street and it's soaked. And I just looked at him and I was like, damn, you all right, brother? He's like, no, I'm not. And I gave him the blanket and I sort of put it over him and I was talking to him. And he said, thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. He said, every time I feel like I'm overwhelmed and like everything is going wrong, he's like, you pop up and people like you. He said, you guys always pop up and do this stuff for me. He said, please continue to do what you're doing. Please continue to spread positivity. Be that person in somebody's life. He said, I thank you. He said, just when I feel like giving up. And I could imagine that. I couldn't imagine that, a matter of fact. Being homeless in Kensington, in a wheelchair. He has to rely on other people to push him around. He wasn't even on the sidewalk. He was in the street. So think about that. He falls asleep in the street, in the snow, in the rain. And then if it's snowing, he can't get around in that wheelchair. He probably doesn't have the strength to move himself. And I wonder, and I said this on the live, it's like, how could this be in this mighty, great country that we have? How is this possible? I'd be willing to say there's hundreds of abandoned buildings, abandoned properties in Kensington. And yet there's still all these people living on the streets. Over the past couple years, you would think that as the situation progressed, as the situation of mental health, as the situation of addiction, as homelessness, as poverty has grown and evolved, you would think that the treatments would also evolve and grow. That's not the case. There used to be a lot more homeless shelters in Kensington and the surrounding area. And for some reason, I don't understand why, there are no more. It seems like there's more places that are considered harm reduction than to house somebody. They'll be quicker to give somebody a bag of needles than they would be a warm bed. I just think that's nuts. That's absolutely crazy. And I'm not even going to get into the whole harm reduction thing. I don't believe there's even a safe way to use drugs now. That's, a harm reduction. That's like an oxymoron. Harm reduction. Yeah. Don't even get me started. That's a topic for another day. Just think about that. In this great, mighty country that we have, and we live in a great country. We all know that. We see the news, and if we've traveled, we've seen how other places are. But yet we're very behind in some aspects. I think humanity we're very behind on. There's other countries that we could learn a lot from when it comes to the way we treat our people. I think we could learn a lot. And I think for me at least, and for Mercy, that was the lesson of the day. The way we treat other people. Always treat everybody with kindness. Always treat everybody with love and respect until they give you a reason not to. And even then, you can decide, do I just not deal with this person? Do I reciprocate this energy that they're giving me? Or do I just turn the other cheek? And I know for me, that depends on the circumstances, what a person's going through. Because there's definitely times where somebody can be very disrespectful and be very hostile towards me, and I'll reciprocate the same energy. And then there's other times where I'll be like, all right, whatever. And then there's other times where I'll be like, okay, I just don't have to deal with you. So now you showed me who you are. I just won't deal with you anymore. So I think the lesson of the day is, of course, do unto others, right? That's common sense. We sort of learn that as a child or as children. And we think it's common sense, but sometimes sense isn't so common. I guess just be fortunate, be grateful for what you have. Do me a favor, hit that like button, y'all. Let's see if we can get this video to 500 likes. That just shows YouTube that there's some value in this video and it needs to get out to other people. Put your notifications on also. Make sure when you tap that button that's for notifications, that bell, put all. Don't have it personalized because that messes stuff up for you guys. Just put all. I appreciate you guys. I thank you. Remember to be kind, loving, and patient. Stay blessed, y'all. And be grateful for that warm bed you have tonight. Stay blessed.